Thank you all for having me on stage. Let me get the clicker. Roy Smeets, responsible for product and technology in CoreMedia, also responsible for customer success. So I have the task to really, look at the vision we have. I think Søren did a very inspirational talk on where AI is going. But in my role and my team's role, it's like, okay, how do we translate that back into something that we can deliver, something that works for our customers, while not forgetting where we're going, right? So it's very important for us to look at the future, but also like, okay, but how do we translate that back? So what I'm going to talk about today is a couple of things. Roadmap, because I know everything is about AI nowadays, but trust me, 80% of our resources we spend on a lot of things but AI. So it's a lot of work we do on other stuff, which I want to take you guys through, because a lot of elements are also the fundament for AI later on. So we're going to talk about the roadmap. In that roadmap is native personalization. Talk about agentic AI with Kio, stuff it can do now, today, because it's very important for you to get you guys on board to see, okay, what can it do right now? Get that question a lot. Okay, great view for the future, but I want to use it now. How can it help me? So we have quite some use cases for that. But then also, for us, it's also really important, where are we developing? Where are we going with AI? In order to do that, we really need to figure out ourselves, like, okay, what will the future look like? And I don't mean 20 years from now, but like 3 years from now. So we also need to visualize a little bit where we think it's going, and then also we can develop a product towards that area. So a little bit around the roadmap and the investment areas that we have. So Kio in studio, readily available in the product, available for everybody. Kio in the cloud contact center, available to be used. And I will show some use cases around that, some nice demo stuff. But for example, we're also investing in UI improvements, especially in the studio area, where we really think, okay, we can optimize things, we can make it, get a better user experience, sometimes simplify things. So certainly a very important area of development. Native personalization is the integration of engagement cloud and content cloud in a very native way. I will show some examples of what we're doing there. Also a big part of our investments. And then a very big one is also, my predecessor here said, the security and compliance is a very, very big topic, which costs also quite some resources, but also something we will continue to work on and deliver in order to always deliver a secure and compliant solution. Then something we also started last year. I remember we were presenting Kio. It looked a bit differently, Kio. We did a revamp of Kio itself, but I think what has worked pretty well is that we went from having an idea to showing a demo, to showing a trial, and then developing things in the product, right? So very often we try with something, but you cannot develop in the product. Well, you can, it's pretty expensive, but if you then go in the wrong way, you spend a lot of money and time for something that nobody's using. So a lot of ideas where we just say, let's have an idea, let's build a little demo, let's share with our customers, get customer feedback, and then we took the customer feedback into the product, and then we fully productize it. So what I will try to do is when I present, say, okay, this is an idea, this is like a demo kind of idea, this is something that we're really doing with customers, and this is really already available in the product. I will try to make that distinction. Especially for the forward-looking things, there's a lot of things that are ideas, and we just build mock-ups just for ourselves, get an idea on what are we doing, where are we going. So something that we are currently developing is the native personalization. Right? So a very important topic. As you know, we have the CoreMedia Experience Platform. We have a lot of features available, but we also felt, for example, we can do quite a lot with data, we can do with quite a lot with campaigns, and then integrate that in Content Cloud. But we also felt the way it was integrated now is integrated in a traditional way with the personalization hub. It doesn't feel natively, it doesn't feel like the right UI. You need to do too many clicks. It works, but you need to do too many clicks, and it's not very close to the content. So we have started a project end of last year to really start integrating that. And the first release will be done in end of June, so in 2 months from now. So what are we doing there? So what we have done is bring data to content, right? So basically, if you create content, you publish content, you also want to see what is the result of the content. You know, how's it doing? How's my website doing? So what we have done now is in Studio, we are integrating all the data elements that are available. So you put a tag on the website, it starts measuring, it starts recording all kind of data, and we can use that data in Studio. So, and that will be delivered end of Q2. So that's going to be available. So what can you see? You can see, what do we have? We have conversion rate, monetary value. We have the number of visitors of the website, the session duration, bounce rate. Well, we store a lot of information. There's a lot of information available. And of course, all these views, you can tweak them. The website performance, like average page load times, error rates, but also the editorial processes you can use in these widgets, you know, and some KPIs. So that's pretty flexible. It means natively in Studio, you can have this kind of information. But that was on the website level. But of course, you can also drill down on page level, right? So the same kind of information you can have on the page level. And even more importantly, also per audience. Like you can have new visitors, you can have discount shoppers, luxury shoppers, whatever kind of segment or audience you come up with yourself, we can really start measuring. And it's super important if you want to close the feedback loop with the content that you have created. So you create content, you publish it, and you start measuring like how effective is this content. Very important to do, because then you can tweak, you can adjust, and you can move forward again. Having said that, next level is that you also start testing and you have different variants of the content. You do A/B testing, you really say, okay, I have this version of the content versus that version of the content. You know, you start testing that, start measuring that, and then you have a winner and you publish the winning content. So that's what we call in the A/B testing, as you see in this overview here. So it's not just that we have the information on the website level, on the page level, but you can also have different variants of the same content, and you know, and we can do the A/B testing and get all the results there. The A/B testing will be in the product by the end of the year, right? So all the data stuff will be there in June, and the A/B testing will be there by the end of the year. Yeah, so that's a lot around the native personalization. Very important topic for us, something that we for sure are investing in. But then, of course, there's also the really fun part, which is Kio for Studio. Yeah, Toby also presented this morning, but it's a pretty cool area. I will take you through some use cases that we have for Kio. Important investment area for us as well. So the Kio Copilot, we started last year. Very simple way of working. Okay, you have Studio, and in Studio, Kio pops up, and you can have a chat with it. Sounds very simple, but I remember a year ago we had discussions around should it be an agent or should we just have fields, you know? And in the end, we chose it to be an agent. We gave it a name, Kio, and we started implementing it. So it can run against any kind of LLM. It can run on any kind of cloud, right? So it's pretty flexible, and you know, we can work with you on implementing that. Then we also did. So we had ideas, we went into projects with customers, and we got very valuable customer feedback. One of the customer feedback we got, well, Kio just does things. So what do you mean? Yeah, Kio just, you know, and I didn't even approve it. So, okay, so that makes sense, because every time we ask Kio to do things, it immediately implemented it in the content, and then there was no rollback. So that's something that we have implemented, something like, hey, before you do something, you can show the differences. There's a differencing view. This is the old version, new version. Oh, I like the new version better. Okay, accept the new version. So something we implemented. But also, if you go more working in Studio with prompts, then you find out in the beginning that you're using a lot of the same prompts and you're typing all the time. So we also said, hey, let's start storing prompts, copying prompts, reusing prompts, because it's very, very useful, as you know, in the AI world right now. So what would be the use cases that we can really use? So one really cool use case, which is already available in the product, is like the tone and voice and tone and brand guidelines. So what you can do is, like you see it on the right side here, you can describe your tone of voice, the way you want to communicate to your customers. And it can go all over the place. So like, what is the brand personality, the brand voice, the do's and don'ts? Don't use this kind of language, do use this kind of language. So there's a lot of options. And just by putting it in, and it's all text, because it needs to be used by a large language model. So writing it down in normal text, it will start using that. We have a short demo on how that would work. It's pretty simple, by the way. So over here, we have Studio, right? And we're going to run the demo. So you select an article. This is the article that we want to use. You go to Kio, and you ask it, make sure this article adheres to the brand guidelines. That's it, right? And then it starts doing so. So it starts examining things. It's also Kio explains what it's doing, right? And then it starts showing, okay, I'm going to change this for this, I'm going to change this, I'm going to change this, and the reasoning before, why it does it. Yeah, and then the cool thing is you can review the modified content, right? That's basically it, right? So on the left side, you see what has been changed. On the right side, you see the new version, and you can accept that version. Yeah, very simple. You can do it for one article, you can do it for multiple articles. Another use case that we have in the product is SEO extraction, so creating keywords. And what we used to have as examples, we say, okay, we do it for one article. This is an example where you can say, well, let's do it for multiple articles. Works as follows, right? You open Studio, you open many articles, you select, I think we select in this use case 7 articles. And then you go to Kio and say extract SEO metadata for all selected items and give a brief summary of what you did. So then it starts examining the items, content items, one by one. So then it's going to update it, and here it's going to show what it changed per article. Right, so you can imagine if you want to do it for 100, you can do it for 100. If you want to do it for 200, be my guest. It just does all this kind of stuff. And again, you can look at the modified content. See, and then you see down there that it has filled in the title, the keywords, and the metadata description. Right? So typically, if you would do that yourself, you can just ask you to do this or always do this for you. So now we get the personalized content values. So all the stuff that I was previously showing is available in Kio, available today, and you can just do. And there's like many, many more use cases, because I could spend probably the entire day just showing Kio use cases, but I think we should just install it, work with us, and start really using it. Then we have the personalized content variants. That's something that we're currently developing and will be delivering end of Q3. So that's a different use case. It's basically where we're going to personalize and create different variants of the same article based on an audience. So here you have the audience, or you have the article, and the audience is you need to create a variant for the user segment, discount shoppers. You can describe what discount shoppers are, and then Kio will figure out, okay, I'm going to make a different copy. So first it creates a copy, right? It creates a selection rule. And then you see here, there's a variant for discount shoppers. Right? So just created a document a little bit differently. And again, it explains what it does. It explains what it has changed. And then here you have the 2 documents again, and you can look at these documents. You can review the modified content. But it also, and that's also very interesting to see, it also created a rule, right? You see that over here. It also says, well, it is a different variant. It is for this different segment. So it also did not only change the content, it also said, hey, the content has changed, but there's also for different audience. right? So that means that if somebody from this audience comes onto the website, it will show this content. So that rule is also implemented in Studio. Then actionable insights for enhanced personalization. So what we are doing, and you will see us continuously do that, if we integrate products, if we get more functionality in Studio, we will after that put Kio on top of it. So when we said, hey, we've integrated the data for the personalization, then that data is available. And of course, we can do standard stuff, build queries on that data, or we ask Kio to have a look at the data. And what we see is that those LLM models, they become stronger and stronger in understanding data. And very often it becomes very technical, but Kio has a very good understanding in normal language to understand what the data is about. It can analyze that. The good thing is you don't need to be a developer, you can just communicate with it, talk to it, and it will give you a normal answer, something that if you would explain to a normal person, you can talk to Kio like that, and it will give you an answer like that. So that's very, very useful. Something we are developing and will also be delivering by the end of Q3. Just have Kio translate your normal language into queries, right? It does, and it translates it back. You give a normal answer. So we have an example here. So here you ask it, what regions are not performing very well with regard to add to cart rate? So that's information we have in the data. And then it starts analyzing, it starts building queries in the background against the data. It gets information back from the data. And then it comes up with some reasons. So it says Istanbul, I think Abruzzo is not performing very well. But it also gives suggestions. So it's not just analyzing, also you could do this. Right? So for example, you could say review and improve product descriptions for the Italian market, particularly for Abruzzo. And then you can say tweak the content, create a variant to make it especially appealing for Abruzzo. And then it starts again explaining what it does, using playbooks. And then it creates this variant, right? Again, it creates a variant. We can see what has been created. So on the left side, a variant has been created. Some more Italian stuff has been added to it. So that's what's going on. But also, it created again a rule, right? Because we created a variant. It says, well, okay, for this segment, for this audience, don't show the old one, show the new one, right? So, and we can go on and on with all kinds of use cases for Kio in what we currently already have, right? So there's a lot of value there to just use what we already have and a lot of possibilities. I think there's a lot of possibilities that we even haven't figured out ourselves. So I even see it working with our pre-sales team. They sometimes come out with something cool that we didn't think about ourselves. So it is about working on it, engaging with it, and making it work. Okay, so I think it's also always very important to talk about what we can do and can deliver. So everything I show now can be done or will be able to do by the end of the year. So that's an important one. And let's also now look from the product side of things. We also try to look a little bit more into the future, because this is what we're currently developing. Okay, but where do we go from now? Right, and then we're talking a little bit about Agentic AI. Yeah, and I think if you look at Søren's presentation, there were so many options, so many things we can do. You know, it's from a product side, sometimes it's overwhelming. Like, okay, but where do we go in? What do we even start off? Right? We have the Agentic AI. You know, it can do independent decision making, self-driven actions. It's goal focused. It adapts to changes, proactively solves problems. So yeah, it's a very big thing. But where do you focus the teams on to develop on? Right? So what we are really looking at, I think it's what's pretty relevant for us, is that we have basically 3 levels. Right? We have the intent on the left side, the goal on the right side. And then we call it the algorithm. You hear brand agent, you hear concierge. It's basically the real-time AI algorithm that translates the goal of the company into the perfect experience for the user. So the user, or the buyer, is on the intent side of things, right? So, and there you have a personal agent, and Søren talked a lot about that. It's like this personal agent that knows everything about you, right? And and you work with that personal agent, and he really figures out your intent, and this personal agent starts engaging with that algorithm or the brand agent in order to get stuff done. On the goal side of things, we already have, for example, Studio currently. You can insert goals. You can insert the targets that you want to achieve. It's really about the area where you provision your systems, right? So in Studio, for example, is an area where you can put in the goals of the company and also start measuring the goals with all the data that we have in to get the feedback loop. So that's the goal, right? So then we have the intent, the goal we do in Studio, and then we have the algorithm in the middle. So that's a little bit what we are looking at. So on the goal side of things, we are also looking already at the new Studio. So what's the Studio gonna be like in a couple of years? So, and then we don't know exactly, so we start visualizing things like, okay, but how would it look like? What would it be doing? What would be the big difference with the current Studio? If you look at what would be it would roughly look like this. If you look what would be the big difference is, for example, now we have Studio and we put Kio in, and Kio does things for you, and you ask Kio, you drive Kio, and Kio tries to optimize whatever you try to do and try to achieve. In the new Studio, Kio will be driving many things, right? So Kio will always be there. It's AI driven, and Kio will manage the UI, right? So we really feel that where now we have the UI and Kio on top, we will have AI, and that will be driving the UI. So it will make it very relevant. So on the left side, you can then have conversations with the AI, and on the right side, you will see the UI changing based on the conversation you have. Right? So that's what we try to do. What we also see in the new Studio, we still think everything needs to be insights driven, right? So insights will be here, like how is this campaign doing? How are you trailing against your goals? So that's something we will always have on the left side. The metrics that we have, the tasks you have to do. But Kio will also start giving advice. So Kio will, the website will be running, and when you log in, it will give you an advice. Hey, why don't you do this, or why don't you do that? Where now it's more one-way street, asking Kio. Kio will come back and start giving advice, right? So that's where we think the future will go. On the other side, we will also have goals. So what you see a lot with ChatGPT, LLMs, basically you tell it what you want. What would you like the outcome to be? And it will fill it in for you. Right? So the goals will also be very important to do. So let me run a little bit through what we could do here. It goes pretty fast. Right? So on the left side, you have an upselling campaign. On the left side, you can say, okay, what kind of strategy would you like to improve? We'd like to improve this campaign. It's like, okay, let's improve this as a banner. It starts doing stuff. You change the banner, right? Again, as a person, you need to approve. So you approve the changes that you would like to have, right? You can edit content over here. But you see the left side, Kio will stay there. On the right side, you can do whatever you want, and the AI will change stuff and will change the UI, right? So you can edit goals, for example, right? And you can do things with Kio. On the goal side of things, that's also something that will change, right? So with an LLM, you can describe goals. You should describe things in text, and then really describe as much as possible, what your goal would be, how you would like to look at it, because then the LLM can come up with plans, can come up with ideas on how to achieve the goals, right? So that's on a high level how we think, the new Studio will look like. Will it change? Probably. But it's also very important for us, as you can understand, like how do we visualize this kind of stuff? Where is it going? it's sometimes also because the AI world is moving so fast, difficult to really understand what's doing. So we try to visualize stuff. We try to do that over here. Then on the other side, and that's going to be a very important one, is the intent. Like when I'm a user, when I'm a buyer, what is my intent? Because for me, it's very important that any kind of company that I work with understands my intent. Yeah, very often you get the wrong offers, you get the wrong experience, but it's very important that you understand the intent. So, and that's also where my personal AI comes into play. So, Søren talked a little bit about it already, but I think that will become very big. It's not CoreMedia that will develop personal AI, right? It will be Apple, Google, OpenAI, all these guys will build your personal AI. And there is, of course, you know, our generation, I think most of us, Gen X, they are like, oh, but I'm giving all my information to the AI, and oh, I'm so scared of that. Young people probably don't care, right? So, and they just do it, and they will be so much faster. And I'm convinced they will do that. If you see my own kids, they're not too worried about these things. And I think with companies like Apple and Google, they can really build secure things. So then it's also like, okay, what does my personal AI look like? You don't know, right? It's my personal AI. I had a discussion while we were preparing this presentation. I said, yeah, but should be this experience. And I said, no, you don't decide. I decide, it's my AI, right? So and what would my AI look like? Like this. Exactly, Sarah. So you can imagine what kind of dog I have at home. I have Sarah at home, Sarah, my Labrador, and this would be my AI. Might look a little bit stupid, but okay, I like it. This is my Sarah. So, you know, Sarah knows me. She can really figure out my intent, and she can act on my behalf. Right? So, welcome, Sarah. So, that's the real Sarah, by the way. That's the real she looks like. So, but she's aware of my commitments. She can browse product suggestions, engage with other AI agents, and she helps me decide. And there's different kind of use cases, right? So I'll have a couple of use cases where I feel this is not what we're going to develop, but we need to be able to deal with that. As Søren also already said, you know, you need to be able to deal with an AI coming to your store, right? If you don't know what to do with that, the AI won't go there anymore because it doesn't get any response. So, okay, so I have an example here of Vodafone. I'm already 27-year loyal Vodafone customer. So still same number, so really happy with that. So how will it go in the future?
Hello, Roy. We got a message from Vodafone. Your yearly subscription is expiring. I propose I look for alternatives.
Yeah, sure, Sarah. Have fun, go ahead.
I found some alternatives for your telecommunications subscription. Do you want to review them now? Here are the 2 best options I found.
So I'll ask, can my Vodafone match these offers?
I checked with the Vodafone agent, and Vodafone can match these proposals. Should I renew with these options?
Yes, do so. No, I would even say close the deal is too much word, yes. That's the thing, we always try to be emotional or be nice to AI. You don't have to. They also say, don't thank AI, it's too expensive. So, but okay, so but my point is here, hey, I didn't even go to the Vodafone store. I didn't even talk to T-Mobile. I didn't, you know, it's more like, I don't care. I'm happy with Vodafone. Just see if I don't pay too much with others. Oh, I don't, go do, right? So that's something that you have to be aware. And if you're not, you know, if you're not aware that this will be some kind of interaction of the future, and I'm not saying next year or in 2 years' time, but for sure in 5 to 10 years' time, it will be like this. You need to be there, and your AI needs to be able to communicate with Sarah in order to be able to even give an offer. So that was Sarah and Vodafone. Let me see. So another thing is, of course, coming back to having a personal AI and being nervous about giving information, all this kind of stuff. I would like to turn it around. I think you need personal AI to protect yourself. I don't think in a couple of years from time you will really, as a human, be able to see, oh, this is a scam, or somebody's trying to hack me. I don't think you will be able to do that. I think you need AI to really protect you from all the evil around you. And that will only get better because AI, they will use AI as well. So I think you need Sarah to protect yourself, right? Maybe I should chosen a Doberman to protect myself. Labrador is not so good protection, but she will do for AI purposes.
Looks like your bank is calling. Let me check with the bank if this is a valid call and not a scam. Checked with the bank, they are not calling. We'll disconnect the call.
Right, so, she will know. Already in the Netherlands, I don't know if it's somewhere else, but if somebody tells me the bank is calling, I can go to my banking app and check whether it's really the bank. Right, so they will show you on their banking app whether they are calling or not. So this is basically what Sarah is doing right now. So yeah, for sure, you need that kind of stuff in order to be safe in the future. The next one. So I think what Sarah also can do, and that's more in what we try to achieve here, is, it understands personal relationships, it understands my intent, and it can make sure that I can buy stuff safely. Right, so the next use case I have is that I'm gonna buy a present for my fiance, Susanne, and she knows Susanne, of course, very well. She's gonna suggest things, and I'll take you guys through.
Hey, Roy, your Suzanne's anniversary is coming up. I know she is very special to you. Let me help you find the perfect gift or plan something special.
Yeah, so hi, Sarah. Thank you for reminding me. Please suggest some gifts and make sure you make that reservation at the restaurant we went last month.
Here are a few ideas. Irresistible rose velvet perfume you gifted her 3 years ago for 148 euros.
Expensive.
Merkic Flair book, a travel book that fits your planned trip for 105 euros. Green top matches the green skirt you gifted for 235 euros. Would you like me to select one of these options, or would you prefer me to search for something more specific?
Yeah, so I think the perfume is fine. Buy the perfume for me.
That sounds like a great option. Should I add that to the shopping cart?
Yes, go ahead. And then I like the top, but you already had that one. Can you find her a skirt?
Yes, I'll have a conversation to the store agent who can assist us in finding a skirt.
Yeah, so then Sarah goes to the store agent, which might be an AI agent, and comes up with all kinds of examples which I can scroll and have that experience that I want to have right now. Not like with Vodafone, which I don't want to have experience. Now I want to experience, and I'm gonna select, something, and then, she will add it to the cart. Oh, by the way, she made the dinner reservation at the hotel or at the restaurant. And so I say, okay, Sarah, please add this one to the shopping cart.
I believe she is a size 34. I'm proceeding with the order.
She knows the size. It might be a sensitive topic sometimes, so it's good to leave that with Sarah.
I couldn't recognize you with Face ID. Could you look at the camera so I can verify it's you?
So also something like that, Face ID, using iPhone technology in order to, do purchases, that kind of stuff will happen, right? So, and she bought it, right? So that was Sarah. As said, it's not something that we as CoreMedia will develop, but it's sure something that we have to take into account, that this will be the way, our customers will interact with us, right? So then we discussed the goal, we discussed the algorithm in the middle, and then the intent. So I'm convinced that a personal AI can really figure out your intent with all the information it has and ask the right question. And if you're not able to anticipate on that, you won't do any business. So, but then we have the middle part, which is the algorithm, the brand AI, concierge. Yeah, it makes me very nervous, right? Because it represents the company, right? It represents your company, and it just can go do stuff. It can go haywire. It can hallucinate. It can get terrible, right? Because it's representing you, and as we know with LLMs, it's not always right. They always give the best possible option, which doesn't have to be the truth, by the way. So yeah, we have to be careful there a little bit, right? So what do we trust it enough? What if it starts hallucinating? What's the alternative? So the good thing is, and I'm coming a little bit back to that, we need to keep sometimes for now the person, people, the human in the loop, right? So we have the human touch, right? So, and what I'm showing you now with CoreMedia, we have the option to have the human touch, to keep the person in the loop that makes the decision. So for CoreMedia, we have the Cloud Contact Center, right? So basically it means it supports your website with customers that have questions or customers that want to do personal shopping. We have quite some customers now going into that domain. So let me show you, so we have Susanne, my fiance. She has the clothes that she bought, and she wants to buy an additional bag, right? And we have here the personal shopper that can really help with what she does, right? So she goes to the website, good, and then she has these questions, and there's a personal shopper, somebody helping at the back end. So how would that look for the personal shopper? Yeah, so this is how it will look for the personal shopper. This is our Cloud Contact Center application. So on the left side, you see all the information they have about Susanne. And because we are storing all the website behavior, right, with the data, so it's all coming together again, right? The data, the personalization, everything is in there. Because we're storing all of that, they know there's like Vodafone as a provider, for example, but also what she's really looking for, because she typed that in the website, her size, age is a little bit young for me, but okay. And then also what she was really looking at. What's also very nice, so in the middle we have the chat window that's between the personal shopper and the person at the website, in this case Susanne, so that's in the middle. And on the right side, and that's where I mean, like you can really have AI assist you. So instead of having AI in the middle just doing whatever, you can have AI assisting the personal shopper, right? One way of assisting, for example, you see this is German, and you can auto-translate and just translate into English. But also it knows, it has the olive top. Susanne has the olive top. And what you will see in this use case is that it's when Susanne asks questions like, how would this look like? I would like to have earrings. How would the green top look with the black skirt? And if I add my red bag to it, you see that Kio on the right side in real time starts bringing that together and coming up with a proposal, right? So let me show you how that can work. Right, so in the middle, we do auto-translate, translate into English, so you can respond in Spanish and it returns in German and whatever you want to do. But also on the right side here, you see now, okay, do you have alternatives for the bags? So it shows the alternatives. You can move it to the conversation part. And here you see like, okay, you remember the green skirt, the black skirt and the green top, the earrings, all this kind of stuff. It starts, AI starts combining that so that you can show to Susanne and say, okay, it will, when you buy all of this, it will look together. So that's something that AI currently can do. You bring everything together. And once you've done that, you can also then bring everything back to Susanne and say, okay, this is what your outfit would look like with the red bag, with the earrings on top, right? So would you like to buy it? Yeah, so that's something that, we can already do, right? So what is it that we can do, right? So we have, for example, going back to the goals, the intent, something we will not invest in, right? So that will be the Apples and the Googles. The goal, certainly we have Studio, Kio for Studio, somewhere we can really implement the goals, where you can implement the content, you can measure the effectiveness of the content, you do campaigns, you can do experimenting. So this is absolutely in this area. And then, of course, it would be brilliant to have this algorithm in the middle that can do everything. That will take some more time to make it safe. But for sure, you can now also really with the Kio Cloud Contact Center and Kio supporting that, you can already make a step forward in that. So that was quite a lot of demos and all this kind of stuff. But having said that, And I really want to emphasize that. Let's get into action, right? It's time to really start embarking on Kio, to really start working with this kind of technology if you don't, because there's lots of possibilities. It is ready. So please, you can contact me. We have Ariadne, Toby, any CoreMedia person to see, okay, how can we get started with Kio for Studio? If you're interested in the Kio Cloud Contact Center, of course, we can also help with that. And also what I would like to see is see if we can help with the native personalization. Start storing your data, start measuring the effectiveness of your campaigns, the effectiveness of your content. And yeah, we're here to help all of you and make that work. Thank you.